You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 134 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, and U.S. Rider. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
Today, we're chatting with Danielle Montgomery from Turning for Home and how to assess what talents or interests a horse might have in a second career. We catch up with Dana Johnson, one of our Making the Makeover competitors, and we introduce you to Amanda Tucker from New Vocations and introduce you to our Adoptable Horse of the Week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you're listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Kristen, we're in like the dog days of summer. Well, technically, by the time listeners are hearing it, we're past the dog days of summer, but summer's winding down. It winding down.
I'm okay with it.
Me too. It's been hot. Now we're going to complain that it's cold and dark in a couple weeks. But that's
yeah,
okay.
I know. I was just thinking, I was looking, because we record in the evenings and I'm like, oh, shoot, by the time this recording is done, I think I'm going to have to turn a light on.
Yeah. So apologies to all the listeners who are like, why do they talk about weather so much? We're Midwesterners. That's what we do. I'm sorry.
It's that northern attitude.
It is. There is. But tell me, how is the end of your summer going? Or you were up to a horse show, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's like summer's winding down, but also we still have 2 shows left. So I'm like, like we're still going. There's still a lot of season left. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I've been shy about this in past like years that like I don't mind the seasonal life, when you ride, especially when you ride ranch horses and you don't have a ring and you ride outside, like there's just a natural rhythm to your year. And for those of us who live in the North, like there's a very natural rhythm to the year. And I embrace that. So, but yeah, like what did we go to? I think our 4th show of the summer.
Yeah.
And by now you would think we'd like have it figured out. Like, and we do, like we have a really good system in which when we go to load the trailer, Eric loads all the stuff, like all the tack and the equipment and everything. And I work on the feed because I, have all of our feed ratios memorized. So I like bag up all the feed and get that organized and like pull down the hay that I want and stuff and bales and blah, 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 blah. And like for some reason, this past weekend, I went rogue and just started like grabbing stuff. So that threw Eric off.
No.
I know. It was me. I put a stick in the spokes like an idiot. And then we got about an hour down the road after driving through like the outer bands of tropical whatever Debbie. Like, so it was a horrible drive, like very wet. And we were just getting to the
full glitch
dry
in the Matrix
spot.
Is what you're
telling me. It was awful.
Me.
Yeah, it was just like, it was bad. I was like, God, I'm really excited to not do that drive again because it was really dry, like an hour west and south, which is where we were going. So yeah, we had like made it to Erie, Pennsylvania, which is like our next major city that we have to drive through. And I looked at Eric and something just made me think about this. And I was like, did we pack any bridles for Jobber? And he goes, nope, like without missing a beat. He's like, we sure didn't. I was like, cool. Well, we're already an hour into this. And I really don't feel like turning around and driving all the way back to the farm through all that rain to get 2 bridles because I always bring an emotional support snaffle as well as the bridle I intend to show in. Because this is the way that I am. And then drive all the way back. I was like, no, screw it. Like we were on a really tight time schedule. Like we had to get both horses. We didn't have to, but I wanted to get both horses magna waved, like PEMF before we showed in the evening. And we didn't have any time the next day because as soon as we were done showing, we had to like cool the horses out, put them on the trailer, get home and then go to a wedding. So I was like, we're on a really tight schedule this weekend. Like we got to just go. I was like, screw it. We'll figure it out when we get there. So we got there and Eric's like, well, he's now in the habit as well because I've trained him to pack an emotional support snaffle for Shorty, even though he's showing in the Basel. Like I've trained the man well. Like we bring 2 bridles for every horse all the time, except for this time, obviously. So I was like, I'll just use Shorty's snaffle on Jobber. It'll be fine. Except Shorty's head is so much bigger. So his head stall didn't go small enough. Oh, so I was like, okay, well, I have a bit and I have these reins I found in the trailer that I like because Eric uses a different kind of rein that I don't like. So I had to run around and like, our Magna wafer is very nice and always has a ton of extra tack. And she's like, here's a head stall. And it was all fine. But I was like 10 minutes before I went in the ring, like still putting a bridle together. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
What your cortisol levels were.
I was I knew it'd be fine, but I was like, this is just annoying. And I
would not have known. And I think like, I don't actually like panic cry. I'm screaming on the inside, but my outside almost goes robotic where I'm like, it's okay.
You're just like,
this is fine.
A good time. Yeah.
It's all right. And then you just like live in delusion, but deep down you're like, we're panicking.
I think if I had forgotten like something, I don't want to say more important because there's like few things more important than the bridle. Like a saddle would have been an issue.
Or your horse.
For sure. Like the horse. Every now and then I'm always like, are the horses in the trailer? Yes, they are.
Could you imagine? I'm sure someone's done it. Please write in if you forgot your horse when going to a horse show.
Actually,
I would love to
yes,
know that person.
because we were, no, not me, but like we heard that. No, we were joking around in the warm-up pen with friends of ours, and they're like, we've done that before. We drove off and our horses were still tied to the fence. I was like, oh my God, at least they weren't tied to the trailer.
100%. I'm scared. They had a little bit too much celebration drink.
Yeah, they're fun. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. So anyway, once we got over that, the rest of the show was lovely. Like we had a great time. Actually really enjoyed the judge who really enjoyed our horses, which was nice. So we're actually going to have him on a future episode because if you guys remember our from the judge's booth series or the judge's perspective, and we'd been trying to get a ranch judge on for ages, and the judge we had this weekend was very enthusiastic about being on, so we're going to have him on after makeover season. Really looking forward to that because he was a lot of fun. He particularly enjoyed Shorty, which judges are really enjoying Shorty this year, so I love that.
It's Shorty's year to shine. It's his era.
It is. It absolutely is Shorty's era. So yeah, we had a good time. Roped some cows. Also didn't rope some cows, but it's fine. Hey. It's a good time. So
I love it. Sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah, it was fun. And we made it back in time for the toast at the wedding. So, it was a good.
I did see those pictures. That was fun.
Oh, we came like in full show kit, but it was a horse friend. So she was like, oh, I don't care. Just show up. So
love it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It was at her farm. So we blended right in. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. How about you? You had like a nice non-horsey weekend, which I am looking forward to one for myself.
Yes, I ended up at a bachelorette party, which was a lot of fun. It was very chill. No big stories there, but we hung out on the lake. However, Zach and I were looking at buying a crazy house, and you're aware of the house because I sent the link to you, and it's, I'm pretty sure at one point, like, the design of it was to be similar to the Playboy Mansion. Like there's a lot of questionable things happening in there.
Very open floor plan.
Very like the bathroom. Is
open mindset floor plan. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the doors, glass.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah. So no shame. The lady of that house knew exactly what she wanted in that house. And that's great for her. But we were considering purchasing it because it's like close to Zach's family and had a lot of potential. Like the bones were really good, but also it gave us a chance to bring horses home. Like he could buy his own horse, which means we get to go horse shopping, which means I get to buy technically probably 2 or 3 horses because that horse will need a friend if we take it off property and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. So that would have been exciting and expensive. But also just like to have them at home, which is always the dream. And actually we made the decision this weekend to not pursue said house. And not at this time. I think for us, we realized for the amount of money it was going to be that we could see, because it did need like everything replaced, and really thinking through it, we don't know if we really want to live there, like in that area. So while it was convenient and while like I would love to have Astrid in my backyard, like have my coffee and go walk out there and feed her, because I do miss that and horse ownership. I used to have them at home. It just wasn't the right time for us, the right fit. So what it has done is
been there so many times. Yeah. Well, we've shared this with each other. Like every time we look at one, we're like, and then like reality sets in a couple days later and you're like, this isn't it. So
yeah. And like, I think even if the house made financial sense, we were just like, we don't really want to live in this town. And not that it's a bad town by any means. It's just far from a lot of the things we love. And I think it started a bigger conversation of like, we need to make like our actual wish list because we know we want to move from our house in like the next 3 to 4 years. But if we're going to spend the money, we want to do it for something that's going to make us really happy. And like, who knows, maybe it'll be Kentucky, who knows?
Right.
But it was nice to come to that point, even though we had a really great opportunity and a place to keep the horses right away. And like, there was a neighbor who had an indoor, like everything was so easy, minus the house. But, normally it's the other way around, right? Like you're trying to get the barn set up and stuff like that, but not in this case. It wasn't right. So turn that down and we'll keep everyone posted once we start house hunting again. But
we should start a different show just about this process.
Horse house hunters.
Yeah, like we're kind of on parallel tracks. Like we're still not
Stable
quite ready,
seekers.
but like, ooh.
I'm going to keep word shopping it. Don't steal it. If someone starts that show, you owe me royalties. I'm just going to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm patenting that today.
But yeah, like we're always looking, and it's definitely the goal. We don't quite have it's one of those things, right? Like we don't have the savings quite, like if we sold this house and got a bridge loan and did like the whole the trade up kind of thing, which just that does give me anxiety. Forgetting my bridle does not, but that is like, I don't want to get stuck somewhere like living out of my horse trailer for a month, So like,
yes,
yeah, like that's the part that makes me nervous. So like I would rather have like a nice comfortable savings cushion, so that I don't have to immediately sell this house to buy a new one to fix it and all that, so yeah, we could.
That's kind of where we were too. And
new
not
show
even
idea.
Just financially, just knowing what we want and we know the next house we want to like really live in it for a while. So we didn't want it to be a Band-Aid. So
right.
Yeah, more to come.
That's a big thing to buy to not love it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our current house was the investment house. And we love where we are. We have a great neighborhood and everything. And I'm like 15 minutes from the boarding barn. It's very convenient. But we're outgrowing it. And I do want my horse in my backyard. So I don't think my township will allow me to do it, considering we're in a suburb. I'm sure my neighbors would love it.
For like a day. Yeah.
No, they'd love it. They let Tova run around everywhere. I'm sure they would love to see a horse running around too, but we don't need that. I don't think Astrid would. She's happy where she is right now.
A dream for another time.
A dream for another time, but that's all right. That's enough about me and my house shopping needs. Like I said, more to come. I'm sure there'll be some drama and lots of things to share there once we really dive into it again. But we have a packed show. I'm super excited for it, Kristen. But before we dive in, we're going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
Spring is here, and so are pastures full of luscious green grass. Spring grass is high in vitamins, minerals, and sugar. Most horses have little problem adjusting to the changing sugar levels found in spring pasture, but for at-risk horses, grazing on sugary grass can lead to big problems such as colic or laminitis. By paying attention to daily temperatures and following a couple of simple rules, you can limit your horse's access to such sugar-laden grasses. In the spring and fall of the year, limit grazing or stop it completely when daytime temperatures are warm and nighttime temperatures are below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Under these conditions, the grass produces sugar during the day and it stores it in its leaves. At night, the plant transfers the stored up sugars to the roots and stems to fuel the growth. If the evening temperatures are cold, the grass will not make that transfer and all of the sugar will remain in the leaves where it is readily available to your horse. In the summer, when days are sunny and nights are warm, it is safe to allow grazing in the early morning hours, but it should be restricted late in the afternoon or evening. This is because most of the sugar that was produced the previous day has been used for growth overnight. Therefore, the level of sugar in the leaves is low in the morning. But as the day progresses, the grass once again accumulates sugar in its leaves in preparation for nighttime growth. So later in the day, the more sugar-packed leaves become. Because grass is a great source of essential vitamin E, horses that are restricted from grazing, especially easy keepers and horses in hard work, may develop vitamin E deficiencies. Lack of vitamin E can result in sore, stiff muscles and neurological problems. Elevate Maintenance Powder from Kentucky Performance Products is an affordable way to provide your horse with the vitamin E missing from his diet. Each scoop provides 1,000 international units of natural vitamin E, and natural vitamin E is absorbed and retained in the tissues at a much greater rate than the synthetic vitamin E found in many feeds and supplements. Best of all, when you choose a Kentucky Performance Product supplement, you get a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Joy, I'm really excited for our next guest. We have with us Danielle Montgomery from PTHA's Turning from Home. I see her often at the makeover. We don't ever get to hang out as much as I would like because we're always running in 400 different directions. But we do have her here for a conversation today. So Danielle, welcome to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Hello.
So Danielle, yeah. Oh no, we're super excited to chat because this is like literally the first time you and I have actually gotten to sit down and have a conversation where we're not like, hi, and careening off across the horse park. So this is great. So tell us a little bit about Turning for Home, because it's a program, we see the name everywhere. We see you guys on social media. We know that a lot of people get their makeover horses through there, but it functions a little bit differently from like, let's say a new Vocations. So how does your program work? Give us like the quick and easy.
I don't think we're that different, but Turning for Home, we're specific to parks racing. So all of our horses come from parks, and then we have about 20 different partner farms up and down the East Coast. So my job is basically just facilitating that transition from the racetrack to the farm. And it's not complicated at my end, but there's a lot of follow through. A lot of things that we worry about and that we look at.
I like that it's really based at one track, so it provides, if I'm understanding this correctly, like all the horsemen at parks know that when a horse retires, they can go to you and you'll help facilitate that transition. Is that how that works?
Absolutely. I started back in 2008. And back then, our big mission was to stop horses from going through the slaughter pipeline. Luckily, our missions changed a little bit because we don't really have that horrible push. Back then, there was an article that broke out in the New York Times with, I think it was a Kelsey Lefevre or somebody, and she was taking horses from horsemen that thought they were doing the right thing and giving this girl horses that was going to take them and make them hunter jumpers, and they thought they were giving these horses to a good person, but they weren't. She was, stockpiling them and sending them through slaughter. So our horsemen saw what was going on, and they saw the outcry, and they were like, "Wait a minute, we need to do better. We need to do something." And they looked, there was a few organizations around at that time in 2008. New Vocation, of course, they were already there. The TRF in New York was already there. And they were doing things. But the big thing that we wanted to worry about was, how do we make sure? And Mike Bellezzi is the one that came up with the brainstorm of the funding mechanism that makes Turning for Home work. And he wanted to make sure no horse was left behind. So that is Turning for Home's mission. No horse is left behind. And of course, we can't save the whole world, but we can save every horse at parks racing. So our funding has, it has increased a little bit over the years. It used to be $10 per start. Now it's $100 per start.
Wow.
And if you think about that, that's how much confidence the horsemen have in our program, and not just in our program, but in the whole concept of thoroughbred aftercare. The horsemen at parks racing know that they have to do the right things by their horses. And so that money comes through. It ends up being about $1 million a year. It used to be about $300,000 a year. And after COVID, we got a nice increase that is letting us actually get better farms, get more farms, get a few more people on board to help out, in the offices, and to give our farms a little bit better stipends when the horses go through. So the way Turning for Home is different is we do a stipend with each horse. And that was kind of what made it work, because what they saw early on was that you really couldn't take every horse and make a sanctuary herd. I think like they had looked at what the TRF was doing. And back at that time, they had about a herd of 100 horses. It's like $1 million a year to take care of 100 horses, and it fills up quickly. And so, now they do the retraining and rehoming as well, and they still maintain a sanctuary herd. And this is kind of the way I think the whole organization, the whole industry, has seen that it works. Is the horses that can be transitioned into a second career, they should get that help from experts that know how to do that, know how to address the things that happen to horses that first year off the track, especially the war horses. They've had a long career training. They're a little bit different to transition than, say, like, a 2-year-old baby that's just had a few months of training, comes right off the track. So, so our funding mechanism is a stipend with each horse that goes out to our partner farms, who are all experienced experts, in this field, and then they find that next home for them.
Oh, that is really cool. I love that it's like horseman driven, and like the horsemen came up with the idea, and the horsemen are the ones, putting in that fund per start. That's really cool. So, and that seems like a model that could be scalable for other tracks too, if they, got their horsemen together.
We've been duplicated at quite a few other tracks. Penn National, jumped on board, and then the Maryland tracks, and there's Galloping Out in Illinois, Second Call in Monmouth, and even the TAA kind of does that. They don't do a stipend with the horses it goes, but they do the same sort of thing as, they give an amount of money for the number of horses you take. And that's the way to do it, because I think early on we saw that sending horses out on a board type of income and paying a day rate for somebody to rehome the horses, it just can escalate. It can just get out of your pocket so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And and there are great people that do that still. There's some great farms that take horses on day rate only, and they're necessary and they have their place. But for Turning for Home, for as many horses as we get, we found that the stipend thing, you're giving people that were already really taking horses from the track anyway. I mean, the people that we use, they're mostly breeders, thoroughbred, owners, trainers, breeders that were already taking their own horses back and rehoming them. And then, the people that were just taking horses off the racetrack, that had lesson programs and stuff like that, they were taking these horses and rehoming. They're the people that we spotlighted, people that were already doing this. And we said, hey, instead of just taking those big fancy horses, if we give you a little extra money with them, can you do the rehabilitation ones? And we'll partner with you. So if a horse needs surgery, say it went out, has a sesamoid fracture, it needs surgery right away to be able to have a second career. Turning for Home is able to do that. If the horse has a condylar fracture, or it just has a bow and it needs a whole 9 months to a year, Turning for Home partners with people, and we kind of place the horses in a way that they do get some of those big, nice, fancy horses. They can sell at a profit, but then that profit goes to help, along with our stipends, it goes to help all the other horses that would have been left behind from the people that just walk the barns and pick the big fancy ones. So this is how we're able to make it work. It's kind of like, the people that we use are all in. They have their own personal mission and reason why they feel good about helping all the horses. And then also, they're in there to be able to do it. I'm not going to say people make a huge amount of money. We know how much horses cost. So
Right.
You have to have a love, right? You have to have a love for this breed, and you have to feel good about, taking a horse right from racing and then watching it go into those second careers. Like, if that doesn't do it for you, then you're not going to do well,
Right. Yeah. You're in the wrong line. Yeah. I love that, that you guys are like, yes, it's, it's a nonprofit, it's aftercare. We use the word aftercare a lot of times just to refer to that nonprofit, and aftercare really refers to everything. But, it's like, I think there's always an assumption, right? Of like, oh, you do it out of the goodness of your heart, and you do, but also like you guys are very wisely kind of running this like a business, right? Like, okay, that horse will likely bring in a little more money, and the money from that will go to support this one over here, that needs more rehab time. And I think that's key, right? I think that's the peril with people in nonprofits, is you get into it with the best of intentions and you don't run it like a business. And then, you kind of have to close up shop in a year because you haven't figured out how to get that cash flow in and out. And that's, that's the hard part, right? Is like figuring out like, okay, it doesn't have to be profitable, but you have to be able to at least support yourself. So that's a cool model.
Yeah. And it does work. We've proven over 16 years now and over 4,000 horses. So we've proven that it does work and people can maintain. And you do. If you're going to be a Turning for Home partner farm, you have to have diversity. Like I said, all of our farms, it's not one stream of income that they're depending on Turning for Home for that check with that horse. Because let's face it, our average stipend is $1,500. What is that going to last you? 3 months for food, shoes, everything they need. Most of the time, we did a study across like the whole board. The average time for a horse to leave through Turning for Home partner farms is about 4 to 5 months, about 4.5 months. And, that's taking in the ones that might be there for a year. And then the ones that, in 60 days, they retired sound, and they go out the door. And it's not just our partner farms. Most of our partner farms have been with me more than 10 years. So they have it's kind of like, we think of it as like our second tier. So
Right.
we have a lot of, trainers, repeat trainers, and maybe they don't want to get into, they want to see before they buy. So they might not take, the acute injuries, or maybe they just can't take the acute injuries. They can't take a colt. They can't take one that needs extensive stall rest. Maybe they just have, a certain type of discipline. Maybe they're only taking barrel tape horses. Maybe they're only taking hunter jumper tape horses. So they can kind of go to our farms and then purchase at a really good rate. The horses coming right off the track as soon as we have them cleared from the vets. So we almost have like a second tier of repeat trainers. A lot of them go to RP that come back every year, and our trainers know what they're looking for and what kind of horse fits their niche. And then they're kind of like that second tier. So they're not official turning from partner farms, but we love them just the same. They're doing this job. They're taking these horses and retraining them. And I think the other big key to what Turning for Home does is providing that training, right? Because if a horse comes off the racetrack and goes out into a field and sits there for 5 years, he's not really much good to anybody,
Right.
But if you take these horses and, you just do that little bit of transition. I mean, face it, they've already seen everything. They're already very well broke horses, ridden every day. They know people, they know so much. But for somebody to get on them and go out for a trail ride, they have to be shown how to do that first. So,
Absolutely.
all these people, and that's what the RP does too. And that's why we partner with you guys and love you so much.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks. Mutual. So yeah, I want to dig into that a little bit because you guys always do such a good job. Like I see on your social media, like, oh, you just took a bunch of horses out on a trail ride. And like, you're always so good at assessing that future potential. And I think that's where, when people are horse shopping, like it can be hard, especially if you're in one of the Western disciplines where you don't tend to see a lot of retrainers like gearing towards those disciplines, right? Like, we see a lot of horses going English because that's closer to what they know or knew racing. And it is a little harder sometimes to kind of see the future and decide if a horse might be a good Western prospect. So you guys have always done such a good job with that. And you've placed so many into great Western homes, like going out and doing some really high level stuff, in the rodeo world in particular. So how do you assess a prospect and kind of figure out what it might be good at? And then I guess the second question to that is like, if that original sort of guess or estimate doesn't work, like how do you know and when do you say, oh, let's try something different?
Well, I'm based at Park, so it's my job to figure out where the horses go. So I have the same Western discipline. I grew up, doing rodeo, barrels, pulls. My dad did rodeo. My daughter has taken Sweetly Talented to the NFR. So this year we actually had a thoroughbred, like you said, at the highest level of rodeo. She finished, in the top 5 in the first frontier rodeo circuit. And, just because we grew up in that and we have trail riding, you're right. I was, as the program administrator, it was easy to get rid of the big, eventing types and the hunter jumpers. And we always joked it was like the little bay mares that nobody wanted. Right. So for me, if I saw something, little and small, like, hey, let's try that and see if it can do barrels and pulls. We do a gaming show every weekend. So for me, it was like those horses that nobody else wanted. I would bring home my daughters and they were 10, 12 years old when I started, and we would work with them and get them broke. And, they would start, take them to the game shows and they would start winning. And it's kind of funny now because it's a decade later. And when I go to my local shows now, like literally, this is a quarter horse world and 25% of the horses are turning for home horses. And so we've been able to kind of change that stigma that thoroughbreds are, too hot. They don't have the mind for rodeo events. They're too hot. They're not gonna be able to do it. They can't get the turns. They're too leggy. And it's true. Some of the big horses have too big a stride and they're not going to be able to do it. But then again, there are 16 hand, horses in the NFR that can do that. So they have the stride and the turn. So that's like that's the jackpot right there. But we've been able to do that. And like I said, it just started kind of at home, as these horses that nobody else wanted, I would take home and we would play with. And you saw Megan Montgomery took Little Red Rodeo to the Retired Racehorse Project, and she finished second in barrels with her. and she took her to rodeo. She went to University of Kentucky and she rodeoed with her, and that mare's got some arena records. And she did great with her. And then the mare unfortunately was hurt in a paddock accident, and now she's home and she's had 2 thoroughbred foals. So she's a permanent fixture here. But she started out as that little bay mare that nobody wanted, who had needed 6 months for a high suspensory tear. So those are the ones. That's kind of how it started. And I guess if I think about it, I'm kind of proud that we've been able to change that and create more homes here for a whole huge horse. We're in New Jersey. Our state horse, our state animal is the horse, and we do have a huge horse community. But the Western horses were the Western horses, and the English horses were the English horses. So it's kind of nice that we've we have horses that are doing both right now. A lot of these horses are doing the jumpers on the weekend and then doing the rodeo, in the next weekend. So it's been kind of cool to bridge the gap. And we always say, they're coming over to the dark side and riding barrels and poles, but they're having fun. And then they're going back, and the girls that were running barrels and poles, I'm happy to see them moving over and doing some dressage and moving over and doing some jumpers, so that everybody's learning a little bit more horsemanship as well. And the thoroughbred is definitely the horse that can be that versatile to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, I do wonder if sometimes, some of the organizations and individual trainers too, just sort of assume they have to be an English horse, and the reality is that like I like a show hunter type mover for the ranch, because, you want that nice kind of floaty movement, to show it on the rail, but also that's very efficient to get across the pasture, as opposed to something that might be a little more like up and down, with more like loft to it, and I've always thought like, wow, there's a lot of show hunters that I wonder if they were ever exposed to cows, if they'd actually be great cow horses, because I really think the disciplines probably aren't that different. So it does sound like some of it is, with your background, you're able to sort of see outside that narrow English box and say like, let's try something different with this horse.
Yeah, good movement is good movement. A good hind end is a good hind end. And, athleticism is athleticism, right? So, you can hone that and make it more specific to a discipline. And obviously, you want to look at their conformation and are they able to do this? But, if you look at them and you say, wow, yeah, there's a lot of horses. In my barrel horse that I have he's gone to Wyoming with my niece. He's gone over. We just went to a barrel race this weekend. He finished 4th in the one day, but the 100 people's rule over him. They really do. And he doesn't want to jump, but he definitely looks like he could jump. And he's just decided in his own mind, no, I don't like to jump. But, he went to a hunter farm first, actually. And, he was a throwaway hunter that I got, and I've had him for 10 years now. And he's my jack of all trades. He does the team penning. He does the sorting. He's, he's done high school rodeo and all the different events. And he's my trail riding horse. I mean, we go swim one weekend, and then I can pull him out the next weekend and go make some money at a barrel race. So that's what a thoroughbred could do for you. And I do enjoy showing that, and trying to show, different organizations, like don't discount the thoroughbred for anything. They could do anything. So, right. And we do a lot of that. We do the Horse World Expo in Harrisburg, and that's we'll bring like 4 or 5 horses, and we'll try to bring 4 or 5 different disciplines. When I talk to the girls and say who wants to come and, who wants to showcase the thoroughbreds, I'll be like, okay, well, you're the eventer, and you can, I know you can do both, but can you come in your, hunter tack, for this? And then, we have, Ashlyn on Pansy has been such a great ambassador this year for the Western horse. I mean, she got Pansy when she was 12, and now she's a freshman in high school, and she was the rookie of the year and probably one of the only thoroughbreds that ran in the high school rodeo nationals. And she qualified in all 4 events on a war horse, on a little bay mare that ran 50 times. And that mare just gives that little girl her heart and soul. And it's like a beautiful thing to watch. If I could do that, every year, or, even 2 a year, and just match a kid to the perfect horse, then, my life is good.
I love that. Now, so when people are horse shopping, do they tend to see like, I saw this horse advertised by such and such partner farm and I'm interested, or do they come to you and say like, I want a barrel racer. Can you help me find one?
Well, we have people that come back all the time and say, I want a barrel horse. We have Jill Dieselhurst that does the RP every year in barrels. And,
Mm-hmm.
so she has she's down in Georgia. She has a good affiliation with Kelly Lupton of Universal Performance Horses. And, she'll go, Kelly, I'm looking for something, little, small that can do that. And now the interesting thing is that she did get a little bay mare. I don't think she ran that much. Her name is Through Nova's Eyes. And I talked to her last week, and she's going to RP, and she's like, I'm not doing barrels. This mare's just not ready for that yet. So she's going to do the ranch riding and a trail or something like that. And that's just a trainer knowing her horse, even though she bought her to do, the barrel racing, which is what she's done the last few years and what she's good at. She's like, this mare, I want to take her, but she's not quite ready for that. We're going to go do the slower stuff and eventually get back to it. So I love that. I love that RP offers those 10 different disciplines that you can change your mind. If the horse that you bought last year to do it isn't ready for that, you can choose something else. She might be doing freestyle. I'm not sure exactly what two she picked, but
Right.
so we do. So that whole story started that, Jill, she's had a few of our horses, and they kind of ask around. Now we do, like, anybody can call me at Turning for Home. We have our adoption application on our website, and they can fill out an application. When you fill out an application, it goes out to a joint Facebook group that goes, everybody can see it. So if somebody sends in an application, all the farms get to see it, but I will call certain farms if I know, hey, you have a horse I think might match, just to make sure that they see it and are on the same page. Or if, like, I know the adopter, I have a board in front of me, and when I'm at work all day long, that has all the horses that are not adopted yet. So there's like 100 horses on my board, and they're listed by partner farms. So if you call me and you're talking about a horse, I can look up and be like, oh, we just sent this horse to this farm. I have Full Gallop Farm is my eventing farm. Laura takes, she's been taking horses for 10 years, and she's probably got, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 going to RP this year in eventing. And not that, and it's kind of interesting with Laura, because I'll send her horses that I think can event, but after she gets them going and she has working students there, and those horses, as soon as they're rehabbed and ready to go, they're training 5 days a week, she'll call me and say, you know what, I think this horse wants to be a barrel horse, or this horse doesn't want to event, I think it's going to be a trail horse, what farm can we send it to? So as the farms get the horses, and I was, they're not going to do what that farm wants to do. My farm community is fantastic about swapping horses out. If they don't think it's going to fit their criteria, and they can't get it moved, they know, the other partner farms that probably have a better clientele for that type of horse. You're like, wow, we got this horse, and you wouldn't believe the hunter movement, and she loves to jump, and let's send this horse up there. And then that person might have something else that's fitting their schedule. So, it's not just the horses that go directly from the track. Our farms will occasionally swap horses around, and, they talk and they move them around so that their horses get the right training and the training that they need.
I love that. And yeah, that's like a huge advantage to having that big network, of partner farms.
Yeah.
You can kind of, move them around as needed. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, one partner farm can move multiple disciplines of horses if you have that clientele. But, sometimes you just get a little stuck, and you're just like, I don't know. This horse isn't moving. There's nothing wrong with him. He's doing everything great. I just can't move him. And then we do oftentimes we'll swap things around, and I'll be like, oh, I'll send you something else. So it works. And I think it just works because we have great people. They, like I said, they're a team. They're in it for the right reasons. And that's the success of Turning for Home is definitely the partner farms and the people.
I love that. So before we close, I know you guys have an event coming up in September, and this episode will come out at the perfect time for people to still get involved. So tell me a little bit about your upcoming horse show.
The horse show is, we've partnered with Second Call at Monmouth Park, and before COVID, they did an all thoroughbred show at the Horse Park of New Jersey, and it was very successful. So Laura wanted to, bring it back. So we partnered with her, and it's the all thoroughbred showdown. We're really excited about it. We have the horse park for 3 days. So you could, ship in Friday night, show all day Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have the jump off. We have the hunt, the hunters, the barrels, and the jumpers come back for like a showdown with extra money added. And then we're also going to have like a celebrity class on Sunday, where some of the horses that showed Saturday can come back and be ridden by our local owners, trainers, jockeys, TV celebrities. So we're going to see who's there. It's Breeders' Cup weekend, which is kind of tough because the Breeders' Cup is Friday and Saturday. But on Sunday, we have a couple of local jocks and trainers and Danny Gibson and a couple of, people that said that they'll come ride. So we're going to have like a celebrity class on Sunday and an adopt-a-thon. So any of the horses that are there, we'll do, a special tag if they're for sale. And on Sundays, we'll have open arenas where you can show your adoptable horses. And we'll also have some horses from Turning for Home and Second Call that are there available for you to see. They'll be in stalls and we'll have trainers there that'll bring them out for you. So Saturday all day, we'll have, our show, which will have all the different events. And then Sunday's more of a specialty day. And we have some special speakers. And so you can come there and learn about thoroughbreds, see some horses that are adoptable, but also just watch them show on all the different divisions and, just get to know more about thoroughbreds. So we're excited. And that's going to be November 2nd and 3rd at the Horse Park of New Jersey.
Love that. All right. Where can people go to find more information about the show?
It's allthoroughbredshowdown.org is the website. And there's also a Facebook. It's just an event page that says All Thoroughbred Showdown. So it'll be there. It'll be up. We should be starting to take entries next week on horseshowing.com. So there'll be a big relaunch of it by the end of next week as the show secretary gets everything put up onto that site.
Very cool. And where can listeners go to find more information about Turning for Home and the horses you have available?
Turningforhome.org. That's our central page, and there's an application there, and you can see the different partner farms, so you can see which one is closest to you. But then I always tell people, just call, and we can let you know, which farm is closest to you, or if you have if you were looking for a horse, you can just either shoot us a text on Facebook. You can text my personal phone or text the Facebook, the website page, and anything that you say in there, the criteria, whoever horse you're looking for, all the different farms will see it. So if they have something that matches what you're looking for, they'll give you a call, or they'll just say, we can tell you, watch for this farm. They've got one coming up soon. So it's pretty much how it works, because once the horses are ready and they've been trained and they're advertised, they go so quickly.
They do. So. Love that. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for coming on and telling us a bit more about your unique program and your upcoming event. We wish you best of luck, and we'll be in touch again soon.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
Cashel has been crafting top-notch products since 1986, designed to make your ride safer, more convenient, and downright enjoyable. From the Crusader Fly Mask, the ultimate fly mask, trusted by riders nationwide, to the blanket top performance felt pad with pressed felt with merino fleece. It's like a spa day for your horse's back. To the beautiful beaded halters, adjustable, durable, and gorgeous. Visit CashelCompany.com today and gear up for the ride of a lifetime. Cashel, where quality meets the saddle. Well, we are back with our Making the Makeover return guest, my new ranchy friend, Dana Johnson. Dana, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
How is Buckeye? How is summer treating him? We missed you at the horse show. We did not see you this past weekend.
We did not make it to this horse show. It was my kids' fair week. So we were...
fair is important.
We were
fair is a religion in rural counties where we all live. Yes,
I know. It was like, this is a very important part of childhood.
Yes.
Yeah, we were in it deep, and we are so thankful everyone is home from fair and yes, getting settled. So yeah, Buckeye got the weekend off. He did not go to fair. But yeah, so we had to sit that one out. But we do have a show coming up this weekend, another 2-day show from another series we've been doing locally. So, and he's been doing pretty good. So the last show I saw you at, that was actually only his second ride back after being off for 3 weeks from being lame and having an abscess and all the fun things. So
yeah, that was the July trail show. Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah. He went in the ring, had a good time, was a good boy.
We called it a win. He was a little bit squirrely about a couple things that before I was like, man, we had that before, but he had been off for an entire 3 weeks. Like I rode him once before we loaded up to go to the showgrounds, and we were like, we'll just see what happens. So overall, I'd say it went fine. And it was good. But since then, he's been back in consistent work and doing good. We've hauled off property one other time since then, and then again this weekend. And then we have 2 more shows at Harlansburg before we go to Kentucky.
Nice. So yeah. One more point show, one more trail show. So we will see you there. You definitely are Making the Makeover trainer this year who gets, I think, the most credit for going off property. Like you have taken him everywhere, and I think that is gonna serve him well in the future. So well done.
I hope so. But yeah, and it's definitely like from the beginning of the show season till now, it's been a huge difference. And I just want him to see all the things and take it all in and just be as prepared as he can be for being at the horse park.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I've heard from previous trainers that I'm not sure how to prepare him for is the Jumbotron.
Yeah, that's a tough one because like nobody just has one sitting around. So it's like, how do you?
I don't have a spare one in the tack room. So
right.
So that's the only thing I'm like, I don't know how to prepare for that. So we're just going to have to take it in stride and see how he feels about it.
I think just get into the warm-up ring. So like we make sure that the Jumbotron is on when the covered arena schooling is running, because we don't want to be like, haha, gotcha to anybody, when they come in to show later, like, haha, should have been ready for that. Like, that's not fair or fun. So it'll be on. So my recommendation is just like get into the ring as early as you can so that if it's a problem, you have the maximum amount of time to make it not a problem. So, because there isn't a great way to train for that thing. Like it is there, it is looming, it is bright, and we'll, have logos and stuff running on it. So just, I'm trying to remember what I did with Jobber. I think I just pretended it wasn't there and just kept riding past it. And he was like, all right, guess it's not a thing then, I just sort of kept going. So like that's a strategy. I don't know if it's the best one, but it worked for us.
Hey, that's how I'm thinking. We'll just go in and pretend like it's not there until he realizes it's there. And then we'll deal with that when it happens, if it happens.
Like, what Jumbotron? What do you mean? What are you talking about, Buckeye? There's nothing there. It's not a giant screen the size of your whole self. Yeah, it's great. So and I was like, I think Jody even mentioned that, and she's been a makeover veteran for a few years. Of like, it's hard to train for that. You just kind of got to go in there. So at least I will say most tracks have some form of Jumbotron. It's just I don't know how close the horses ever get to it.
That is true.
But I noticed that I went to the races last fall at Presque Isle. Actually, I need to make sure I get down there because their meet's going to end and I haven't been yet this year. And I do remember seeing horses coming out of the paddock, and one was like, planted and stared, and their ears, and they were like looking at themselves in the Jumbotron. And after a few minutes, they were like, okay. And just went about their business. So like, I will say, he may have actually seen one and it might be fine. And he might surprise you and be like, that's no big deal. So we'll see, I guess.
We're just going to hope for the best. But you're right. He may be not even on his radar as anything to be stressed about.
Yeah. He'll be like, that's just that thing. What are you looking at?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So you have now, when this episode comes out, it's going to be about 6 weeks until the Kentucky week. So that's not to scare you. It mostly scares me because I have so much work to get done before then, but it's fine. What are your goals? Like, what do you want to achieve in those last 6 weeks?
So I feel like we have in this last little stretch is not the time to throw anything new. He has a really good foundation. He's going all gates. He knows what to do at home. I think it's really just building his confidence up off property. And there's a couple, the one thing that is I'm really hoping to work on this weekend and at Harlansburg is the metal gate, the clanking and opening and closing of the gate, because he still gets squirrely about that. So, and we have a rope gate to practice at home, but the clanky metal gets him a little squirrely. So that's our big, I think that's been his nemesis through most of the trail classes.
Yeah. Well, and that last one, that trail show, I know Shorty barely fit where that was, so the bigger horses, and that particular setup, I was like, oh, this is a challenge for the bigger guys. So setting it up where you have plenty of room is a good way to get started with that. So that's a good one.
Yeah. That's our big thing we're focusing on. But I think just want to fine tune where we're at, get him more confident, and just, I feel like if we can train for as well as we can on the farm, and then we go in the show ring and we haul somewhere, we know he's not going to be at that same level. So just keep building up his confidence and stuff at home and practicing our skills out and about.
Yeah, that's a really good point that like, yeah, you figured out now that like, broke at home and broke at the show are two different levels. And I think like being armed with that knowledge, I think now you're going to go in as prepared as you can be. So that's really smart that, you're able to see that, and adjust your plan accordingly. So nice. Do you have a particular goal for the makeover itself?
Our goal is to go perform the pattern, stay on pattern, and just have no major meltdowns. Is just to go accomplish and say like, yes, we accomplished the pattern, which might be a little ambitious of a goal for Buckeye, but we'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great goal though. Like, that's building on everything you've been doing all summer, at like out off property. And again, like you cannot fault you for not getting him out enough because you've gotten him out so much. So I think that's great. Like you've done the thing. You've done the makeover prep, gotten him out, gotten him as ready as he's going to be. And yeah. Are you doing anything other than the ranch work?
I almost debated about doing Western dressage, but I think we're just going to focus on ranch work for the week. And that way, because it's a big show. It's going to be stressful enough. And I really just want it to be a positive experience for him too, and for me. So I don't want to be stressing and worrying about a second discipline or anything. So like we debated, I went back and forth and I was like, you know what, let's just stick with the ranch work. That's what we've been focused on. If anything, I did debate about competitive trail for a minute too, but I was like, let's just focus on one discipline.
Yeah.
He's a baby brain. He's only 4. So
yeah, he's got plenty of years to develop in any other direction and try something else new. Love that. Do you think he's better indoors or outdoors?
Indoors, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a deciding factor because the dressage is so if horses are better in outdoors, I'd be like, yeah, try the dressage. But yeah, if he's like, no boundaries, then like, yeah, maybe maybe stay inside.
Indoors is his comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we're doing the dressage now in the walnut ring, it has that kind of like infinity pool look. Where like off the one side, it's sort of like carved into a hillside. So off the one side, it just sort of like whee into space. And every now and then some horses are like, oh boy, they come around the corner and they're like, cool. So yeah, that's maybe a good call.
that just reaffirms. Yeah, we'll stick with ranch work for just this time.
Yeah. Know your limits. That's always a good idea. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And we've started, we got Airbnb set, and trying to hook up with another trainer to haul down together with. Because I think that it's going to be me and a friend coming down first. And my husband will join us like on Wednesday night or Thursday. So I don't want to haul down to Kentucky by myself. So I think we're going to carpool with someone else.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I did that too. I hired a spot in a trailer that was coming through town. And was like, this makes me feel better. Like it's a long drive to be responsible for the trailer.
One less thing to stress about.
So, still some time left to, make some decisions and figure out what you want to see and everything down there. But what are you excited to see at the makeover other than, your own riding and getting Buckeye in the ring?
I am so excited to see fox hunting. And also I love watching eventing. So I will definitely be trying to catch as much as I can in between. And me and my husband both did sign up to help volunteer in between. I just said, I'm competing in this. So whatever else in between, I'm happy to help out wherever is needed. So is he. And so
thanks in advance for that.
Yeah. And the friend that's coming down with us, she, I think, volunteered to help too.
I love that. We have the
husband.
Best stand-in husband. We have the best volunteers at the makeover. So thank you very much for joining the Legion of volunteers. I did that too the year I competed. I was like, I'm not going to sit here all week. God, like there's only so much sitting at the stall you can do, So
well, that's kind of what I figured too. And the best way to see everything and to get around the grounds is to help out while I'm there. So
yeah, we actually, one of our, I guess it was a Making the Makeover guest from a couple years ago. Lee Beamer, we're always like, oh, our girl Lee. But yeah, she actually volunteered for the Field Hunters as a scribe. So she got like the front row seat the whole time. So, and she had a ball. She was like, this is amazing. Like, and I'm learning a lot by hanging out with this judge. And like, yeah, she had a lovely time. But yeah, the Field Hunters is really cool because it's not really a spectator sport otherwise. Like, unless you happen to have a hunt nearby that happens to go through a field that you can see, like nobody ever gets to watch it. So it is really cool to watch them do the mock hunt and stuff. So yeah,
it really, it's intriguing to me. It's interesting. And we've done, like when we lived in Virginia, there used to be a club and we would sometimes go out, but we were like third and fourth flight and just kind of putzing around, having fun, not taking it super serious, just the environment and everything leading up to going out and like back afterward. It was always really interesting to watch because it's just really interesting and something you don't see very often.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture, like of
definitely
equestrianism. Yeah, it is neat. So I will say, I do think the ranch community at the makeover is super friendly. So you are gonna like fall in love with everybody there and have a lovely time, and you'll have like a great support system around you because everyone is just there to have a good time. And it is always like the mellowest horses too. Like I always have to laugh because the other disciplines are like trying to get their warm up just right. And like the ranch people are like all sitting around with like a leg cocked over their saddle horn. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen anyone drinking a beer, but like it wouldn't surprise me, So
right.
Like, okay. Like we found our people. Yeah.
This is my tribe.
Right. Yeah. And then like everyone's super helpful too. Like, heaven forbid you have some sort of a meltdown. Someone will be like, oh, you need me to pony your horse in the ring? Like, it's good. I got you. Like people will leap in to assist if needed. And I'm sure you'll be able to return the favor for anybody else. So yeah, the ranch people down there are awesome. So
yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, I'm a little biased, but it's fine. Well, Dana, we wish you the best of luck in the last 6 weeks of prep. Remind us one more time where people can follow along with your journey.
On TikTok at Buckeye Birth.
Love it. All right, Dana, best of luck. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much.
Well, Kirsten, we are 6 weeks away from the makeover. How sweaty are you?
Sorry, didn't mean to scream in your ear. Just,
that's fair.
Panicking a little, but it's fine. It's all going to be fine. You know why it's going to be fine? Because RRP has the best volunteers in the business. Truthfully, our volunteers, I think, are what make people call it the happiest horse show on earth, because everywhere people go, it's very stressful to bring a green horse to a giant horse show. And our volunteers are always there to be like, good luck, good job, everything's great. What do you need? How can I help? So like we truly have the nicest, best crew of volunteers that you could ask for. We are looking for more volunteers for this year's Thoroughbred Makeover. It runs in Lexington, Kentucky at the Kentucky Horse Park, October 9th through the 12th. If you are thinking of doing a makeover in the future, this is an excellent way to get like kind of a behind the scenes, front row seat kind of look at how it goes, how the show runs, what to expect without the pressure of actually being there with a horse. And it's just a really fun way to give back to the breed that we all know and love so much. So if you have a little spare time in October and you can come down to Lexington, Kentucky for a couple of days or just half a day, we don't mind. As much time as you would like to give us, we have a huge variety of volunteer jobs. You don't need any prior experience. So, bring your horse husband, bring your dad, bring your brother, bring your friends. Everybody can come volunteer. We'll find the perfect job for you. You can get started now by expressing your interest at vrrp.org/volunteer.
Well, we're super excited for this segment. It's our new vocation segment. It's very familiar to all of our current listeners and new listeners. Hi, this is the part where we tempt you to adopt a new horse. And yes, we're enabling you. But before we get to our adoptable horse of the week, we're introducing you to a new face. We have Amanda Tucker. She is from the Lexington New Vocations, and she is new to the New Vocations team. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you.
So since you're new, I have to do the whole introduction piece. We got to know everything about you, where you came from, who you are, what's your credit card numbers. I'm just kidding. You don't have to go through all of that part. But tell us a little bit about your journey into horses and how you got involved with thoroughbreds.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from England, and I was basically born riding. My parents weren't horse people, but I saw a horse when I was 3 and I never looked back. So I spent my entire childhood riding, and then moved to the States when I was in college. and I landed in Kentucky, and then I got super addicted to the thoroughbred.
I have to ask. So I love British TV and British YouTubers. And like when I look at all the horsey culture over there, I'm like, how did you come here? I'm so glad you are here. But like, how is Lexington compared to England?
It's not quite the same, but I've lived in quite a few places in America, and Lexington was the closest I could find to home, which is why we ended up landing here in Lexington.
Okay, so that only confirms my decision to move to Kentucky someday because I would love
absolutely.
to live in England. Oh, okay.
I love that.
All the
really
girl
cool.
math is mathing, and I love it. And so how long have you been at New Vocations now?
I have been at New Vocations just over a year now. I started there as a rider last year just to spend more time with the thoroughbreds, and spent more time and more time and more time until I ended up being the trainer there. So I started about 4 months ago as a trainer. So
amazing. Well, congratulations to that. And what about thoroughbreds is it like that stands out the most for you?
There's so much variety. Like, there is a thoroughbred for everyone. Just walking through the barn, we have the fat, slow ones, the fast ones. We just have everything. So like a box of chocolates, you can find one that fits everyone.
Oh, that's what we say. You're going to fit in just fine. That's like the whole part of this podcast. It's like there's one that fits anything you're looking to do.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And what we make all of our lovely trainer volunteers do is offer some training tips to listeners. So I have one for you. First one, super excited. And it might be a tricky one. We'll see. I want to know your top tips for helping a thoroughbred kind of learn how to canter correctly, coming into that soft departure and not running through the shoulder.
Yeah. So I spend a lot of time putting like the first rides and first canters on our horses. So I have a lot of experience doing some of those first early canters. Let me think. So depending on the horse, I usually will start them on the lunge line. That way they can get to grips without having to balance me on their back. And I like to use my voice. So I always start with a 1, 2, 3 canter. That way, when I get on their back, I can do the same thing, and they kind of are expecting it. So that always helps. And then something else I always do with them is I like to almost make the first canter their idea. So having them forward enough that they can just step into it. If I go too slow, or if they're going too slow, and then I ask them, then we usually end up just running really fast, like a standardbred. So I'm making it their idea and making it really easy to transition from that nice forward, relaxed trot into the canter. And then, sorry.
No, you're good. Let me count you back in.
Oh, yeah, I froze.
You're good. Let me know when you have your thought. I'll count you in.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
And then I'm a big proponent of the dressage training scale. I'm an eventer, so we do a lot of dressage. So having a relaxed horse is always key for me. Sometimes I can get on one that it's their first ride and they're relaxed, and we can do a walk, trot, canter on our first ride. And sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 rides just to get them relaxed and in the right headspace. So they're not rushing, they're not panicking. We can just go into it with a relaxed mind. So some of the horses can do that right away, and some of them just need 4 or 5 rides to just relax and know that it's okay to be able to go into that canter in a relaxed, not rushed mindset.
I love that you say that. So something I like to share with my students, and hopefully, I guess listeners might get a double tip depending on this, but like horses have a learning mindset, right? There's like a learnable state where they're very engaged with you. And I like how you say like that relaxed partnership. And that's where they're going to take in the most. And then there's like distracted, but we're not acting stupid. We're just distracted. And so you have to get them to that learning state before you can really progress. And, that's where our laterals and changes of direction and transitions really help to center their brain. And then you get into fight or flight. And that's a
Right.
different set. Like that might be getting out of the saddle and let's just deal with the situation because no one's learning in that moment. But that's something I like to share with my students who might get flustered if we don't progress in a particular lesson. But like to keep in mind, like your horse is going to be different every time you show up. Like if you're lucky enough to have that horse who's the same every single day, like kudos to you. They like their central nervous system must be stellar and I'm jealous. But most of them, they have their good days, their bad days, distracted days, playful days, and just days they just want to cuddle and get a snack and not work. So I love that you bring up the relaxation. I think it's super important.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always like to try and end on a high note. And sometimes that high note is 3 minutes into the ride. Sometimes it's 25 minutes into the ride. So I never want to end when they're like rushed or panicking or stressed. So I always try and find that good breaking period when we can stop and everyone's happy with where we're at.
Oh, fantastic. Great tip. And some that I'm going to remind myself on because they're definitely good nuggets to keep when you're at the barn. But speaking of relaxed horses, let's talk about our adoptable horse of the week. We have OK Honey. And I know, Kristen, we say this every time, but she's super cute.
I really like this one. I'm excited to hear Amanda's insight on this one. She's so cute.
Tell us a little bit about OK Honey.
Oh my goodness. I love her. And her name just suits her. She is such a honey. And she's a war horse. She ran 76 times.
Wow.
So yeah, so she has been there, she has done that, and so she's just the classiest girl. When you sit on her, she's just wise beyond her years.
She looks wise. She has like this something in her eye. She's got a lovely, beautiful eye. Like she's just like, okay, I'm just like, which makes sense because her name is OK Honey. But yeah, this just looks like a lovely girl who's ready to do anything. I mean, really anything.
Yes.
Yeah, she's such a professional. Like you get on and she's like, all right, we're doing stuff, and she's locked in and she's listening and she tries really hard and she does whatever you ask her to, or she at least tries really hard to do it. And that there's no fuss, there's no drama. She's just a professional queen.
And there's war horses too. Yeah, like Joy and I we don't have any war horses between the two of us, but there's something about like the quality of horse who's been through that many races. Like, first of all, they're going to be fairly sound because they made it through years and years of racing. And then like they've already lived a pretty full life. So they're like, all right, like whatever, they're just ready to try something different. So yeah, someone's going to get a really cool horse here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, her maturity level is just out of this world. And she's completely sound, which is amazing after 76 starts. So, I mean, she's built well.
No, she really isn't. It's fun watching her videos. You can just tell by her face. What I love about a mare, it's no secret to listeners who've been with us for a minute, I'm a mare girl. I'm a girl's girl at the end of the day. And she is a very feminine looking mare, which is my favorite. Like she's got a nice refined head. She's still got a good body. And I bet when she puts on like the sport horse build, she's going to get thick. Like that's the build I see in her. She's still got her racehorse body a little bit, but I think she's going to fill out so nicely as she builds that sport horse type of muscle. And she's going to be a stunner because she's a very rich, like mocha chocolate bay. And I think it's a stunning look on her.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. And once she fills out, she's going to be a really cool little sports car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's got a great canter too. I'm just watching her just take these cross country logs just like right out of stride. Like that's what everybody wants. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
No, she's super cool. And you can tell she just takes everything in stride. Like the fact she's going over trail obstacles in the videos. And, there's a lot of these young horses, and not that she's older, like she's a really great age, but considering a lot of the horses who do come through new vocations are quite young, like she does have that maturity about her and is probably a little bit more familiar with herself. And for someone who is looking for still a green horse project in a way, but not necessarily the full commitment, she would be a great option.
Or like the baby green.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The baby green, where we're still like learning where our legs are.
Like, I don't need a 3-year-old. Like, no, thank you. God, grow up a little and then we'll talk. Yeah, this looks like my girl. Well, and like, like you said earlier, like there's a thoroughbred for everyone. So yeah, we tend to feature a lot of like 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. But like, yeah, for you guys who are like me and like do not have the tolerance for baby shenanigans, like just what we said before, there's a thoroughbred for everyone, and this is your girl.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no drama with this one. So,
well, if anyone's interested in checking out Honey, she is on newvocations.org. Check her out, and I'm sure she won't sit long. She is a stunner, and her adoption fee is $3,500. That is a steal for a horse. Like, she's going to be a talent for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. We hope all of our listeners go and get their applications. You must be approved. Newvocations.org or horseadoption.com. Both of them will get you where you need to go. And Amanda, we can't wait to catch up with you next time.
I look forward to it.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram at The Horseback Writer and on Facebook at Jobber Bill, Racehorse to Ranch Horse. My email is kristen@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, U.S. Rider, and to our partners, New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And cowside leg.
Bye, guys.